family, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me on this fabulous Sunday. Today we are going to talk about anxiety and different Bible verses that can help you through those anxious feelings. Kind of just overall kind of like an anxiety hacks. I by no means have learned to 100% rid myself of anxiety, but I think these things definitely do help, and remembering the truths that God has told us to help us when we're feeling anxious. So the first verse is Psalm 62:8. Trust in him at all times, O people, pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us. So finding that refuge and that safe place in God and trusting in him with your heart. That's what that verse is trying to tell us. Trust in him in all times, even when you're feeling anxiety. Doesn't mean that you can't trust him. That's honestly a time when you should really try to trust him the most. Okay, Psalms 55:22. Cast your burden on the Lord and he will sustain you. He will never permit the righteous to be moved. So here's another one that has to do with trust and casting your burdens on the Lord. So giving up these things that are making you anxious. First, I think it's very important to kind of pinpoint what is making you anxious, which can be hard to do, but I think once you find what's making you anxious, to give that to God and know that you can't handle it alone, but he's there to help you through it. Psalm 61:2. From the end of the earth I call to you when my heart is faint. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. So all of these verses are kind of about when you're feeling weak, when your heart is, having anxiety attacks and like being anxious is kind of like a whole body thing. Like your heart honestly feels something, and to find your strength in God because he is your refuge, knowing that you can't all handle this in your heart, and that he is your refuge that you can find and run to. Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving let your responses be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and your minds in Christ Jesus. So specifically for this one, praying when you have an anxious heart, praying for strength, I think it also really helps if you're praying and giving thanks about all the things that are going right in your life, all the things you're grateful for. It can lead your mind away from those anxious thoughts. 1 Peter 5:7. Casting all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. Easy as that. God cares for you, you're feeling anxious, just cast them all on him. And when you read these verses, you're always probably thinking it's easier said than done, but the more you read about how much God is there for you and how much you can rely on him, it makes it easier, and you actually truly believe that you can give these things to him. Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. All of these verses are kind of promises and reassurances that God's there literally always. And so it's always important to read these when you're feeling kind of like abandoned, anxious, and all your own thoughts. Mathew 11:28. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. I love verses like this that talk about rest, because with everything that's going on in this world and even your minds, and it's very, very cool that you can read this and know that you can come to God to find that rest, that spiritual and mental and even physical rest that you need. Alright, last one, but certainly not least, is Hebrews 13:6. So we can confidently say, the Lord is my helper, I will not fear, what can man do to me? That's a really neat one to end on. And so I gave you all these verses. I shared all these verses with you, so now what? Okay, so if you have a deck of flashcards, pull out those and write down each one of these verses on the flashcards. And whenever you're feeling anxious or really anything, whenever you just really need God in that moment, take a flashcard and read through that. Speak these truths know these truths and know that God's with you when you're feeling this. I saw this on Pinterest, I think, this flashcard idea, and honestly, it's so great. I'm definitely gonna do it myself. I don't have flashcards right now, so we have to go get some of those, but definitely gonna do that. So whenever you feel that way, just pull those out, read those, and pray through that. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I hope it helped you somehow, and if you ever need to talk, you know where to find me. And as always, I will see all your beautiful faces on Wednesday. Bye.